Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ryuga here with something I don't think we've done before. We've talked about perks and changes we'd make to them, but we haven't actually done a perk tier list and rated um, all these perks. So there's 95 perks in total, and we're going to start with the Survivor perks. And we're just going to go through and we're going to talk about every single one, and we're just going to rate them, and I'm going to give you my own opinion. I actually haven't even thought about this beforehand, so this is literally me running in, and this is like my knee-jerk reaction, like, what do I think of this perk as it stands? We're not going to really do, like, we're not going to rate it based on comp or super high-level gameplay or anything, because, I mean, at that point, then I would consider perks like Camaraderie, for example, to be really good, but in basic gameplay and basic, just generally playing the game like casually is what I mean. Camaraderie is obviously not going to be as good. So we're just going to talk about general gameplay, whether you're in a Swift or you're just solo queuing. We're just going to talk about these perks and how helpful they are just, as a casual player. So let's go ahead and just talk about this. So we're going to start with Ace in the Hole. So Ace in the Hole is a very rare Ace Visconti perk. It lets you get an add-on of very rare or lower quality when you loot a chest. The add-on is attached to the item, obviously. And you have a 50% chance of finding an add-on at uncommon rarity or lower. When you escape, you get to keep the add-ons on any item. So, really, this perk is not that useful. Add-ons are very easy to come by. And even looting a chest, there's a chance you don't even get good items. So I'm going to give that, honestly, a D. It's not really useful. Nobody really runs it. It gives you not a shit ton of use in just normal gameplay. So we're going to put it just at the bottom of the barrel, pretty much. The next perk we're going to be talking about is Adrenaline. So what Adrenaline does is it heals you 1 health state when all the generators become completed, or the hatch gets closed. You sprint at 150% of your normal speed for 5 seconds. And overall, it's a very solid perk. If you're being chased at the end of the game, it lets you heal, pretty much wasting all the killer's time resetting their pressure so they have no pressure at the end game. It lets you stand up if the killer is slugging you. And if multiple people have Adrenaline, you could pretty much reset all the pressure that the killer had and pretty much crush their hopes of having any end game pressure, unless they have no it or something. But this also can override Exhaustion. If you already have Exhaustion, it doesn't matter because this will still go off and it'll give you Exhaustion. It's a pretty good perk, I'd say. I don't want to say that it's the best perk ever, but I do say that it's a very good perk in terms of usefulness. So I'm going to put it in the A tier. It's not quite on the top of being the best ever perks, but it's still okay. Let's go ahead and talk about Aftercare. When you rescue somebody from a hook, or somebody rescues you, or if you complete a healing action on somebody, or they complete a healing action on you, you see their aura. And this is permanent and becomes reset when you're hooked. So pretty much this gives you aura reading for unhooking, being unhooked, healing, and being healed. And it's a permanent unlimited range, and then resets upon being hooked. This perk is pretty underrated. I'd say that in terms of aura perks, it's actually pretty good. If you want information on, what people are doing around the map, this could be good in a stealth build if you don't want to be hooked, and just in general for information. I'm going to give it a B because I feel like it can be a useful perk, but while it's a useful perk, it's also not the best ever. In terms of aura perks, though, it's pretty useful. Let's go ahead and talk about Alert. Alert is very simple. If a killer performs a break action, the killer is revealed to you for 5 seconds. It's a pretty simple perk, and I'd say it has its uses. I wouldn't say it's a super good perk, but, seeing where the killer is every now and then is all right. I'm also going to put that in B tier with Aftercare. I think that aura perks can be very underrated, especially ones that reveal survivors or killers very frequently. And Alert and Aftercare does that, with relative ease. So I'm going to put that in B tier, and I'm going to put it as being a very useful perk. But not, meta or anything. The next perk is Any Means Necessary. This lets you reset a pallet that's been thrown, and it has a cooldown of 60 seconds. I think that this perk is relatively useful, but a lot of killers in this day and age kick pallets, so it's very hard to get use out of it. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in C tier. I think that it can be useful, especially if you run windows of opportunity, but if the killer just breaks all the pallets, you literally get no use, which sucks. So while it can be useful, it is too situationally, useless. I'll put it that way. All right, let's talk about Appraisal. Appraisal, you start the trial with 3 tokens. When a chest has already been opened, you can rummage it. You rummage chests 80% faster. So it's like being able to loot a chest again. It's okay. It's not super useful, but the best thing is when you pair it with plunders to get a key. But on its own, I would say that it's just okay. If you want to go for items, it's fine, but it's not the best perk ever. Let's talk about Autodidact. Autodidact, you start the trial with a negative 25% progress for healing skill checks. For every successful one you hit, you get a token up to 5. Each token grants you a plus 15% progress bonus. So basically at the end, I don't know what the percentage is, but you heal people with every skill check very, very, very fast. While it sounds good in theory, you can heal somebody and RNG gets 0 skill checks. It is super annoying, and it sucks when you don't get skill checks. While it can be useful against killers that injure a lot, like hit and run wraiths or people who run sloppy butcher, it's just too inconsistent to really get something incredibly, you can't get consistent usage out of it, is what I'm trying to say. All right, next perk we're going to talk about is Babysitter. When you unhook a survivor, the unhooked survivor leaves no scratch marks or blood for the next 8 seconds, and you see the killer's aura, and the killer sees your aura for 4 seconds. This is pretty much an anti-tunnel perk, but it doesn't really work very well because the killers are either chasing somebody else or they're already camping the hook, in which case they're not going to be phased by this perk because they're going to have line of sight of the survivor. So I'm going to put this in trash tier. It's just not that good. You don't get a lot of use out of it, and even when you do, usually the killers will tunnel anyways. All right, so now we're going to get to first of our activatable exhaustion perks. Ones that... yes, very loud car down my street. Anyways, the ones that you trigger, not like adrenaline. These are ones you use mid-match. So what Balanced Landing does is when you fall from a great height, your stagger is reduced by 75%. And then you also reduce the volume of grunts from falling by 100%. I actually didn't know that. And then you start sprinting at 150% your normal speed when you're running. So pretty much this is useful for hills. This is a good exhaustion perk, but it's not as good as other exhaustion perks because not every map has a hill. I'd say there are a lot of maps that have only like 1 or 2 areas you can jump off of. So while those aren't a majority of the maps, if every single map had somewhere you could balance landing off of, I'd say it'd be better. But I'm going to put it in with B. I'd say it's good, but some maps make it to where you just can't use it. But overall, very useful on most maps. Better Together. Better Together is a perk that activates when you are repairing a gen. It reveals the aura of the gen to all survivors within 32 meters. If the killer downs somebody while you're on a gen, you see the aura of all other survivors for 10 seconds. The aura reading for this is very good. It lets you see survivors when a killer downs somebody, so it's information-wise. You can see who's close if anybody's going to get the unhook. And it also lets survivors come to you if it's an important gen that needs to be finished. I'll put this perk in B tier. I think it's slightly underrated. I do think it's a good perk, but I don't think it's one of the best perks. But it definitely has its uses. Bite the Bullet. When you heal, you make no noise. You also don't make noise when you miss a skill check, and healing regresses by only 1% if you miss. It's pretty good. Silent healing is incredible, especially if you pair it with like self-care, just mid-chase. It can counter, I know this is like out there, but it can counter Lullaby because it will negate the regression of the heal. I say that this perk overall is pretty useful. Silent healing actually gives you more value than you would think. It's like Iron Will. You don't necessarily see at face value how much value you get from the perk, but overall, it can save you in a lot of scenarios. And being able to just heal and be completely silent, especially if you're healing somebody who's loud, is super underrated. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Blast Mine. Blast Mine is a new perk, just like Bite the Bullet. This one's from Jill. So Blast Mine activates after you repair a total of 66% worth of a gen. After repairing a gen for at least 3 seconds, you press the ability to install a trap that stays active for 45 seconds. The affected generator will be revealed to all survivors by a yellow aura. When the killer damages it, the trap explodes and stuns them. So this is a pretty decent perk. There's probably going to be a lot of perks that fall into B tier. The reason this perk is so good is because it wastes killers' time who run Pop Goes the Weasel. And it lets you escape. You can get so far when the killer has to kick the gen, get stunned, kick the gen again. You're pretty much like gone and they're never going to catch you. So this has a shit ton of value. Good time waster and very easy to use perk. Alright, Blood Pact. When you or the Obsession are injured, you both see each other's auras. After completing a healing action on the Obsession, or having the Obsession complete a healing action on you, you both gain a 7% haste status effect until you are no longer within 16 meters of each other. Reduces the odds of being the Obsession, and if you are the Obsession, this perk deactivates. This perk's too hard to activate. It's trash. It has too many scenarios, too many circumstances. It's too hard to activate. You have to stay within a certain distance of somebody, then it's useless in solo queue. You have to not be the Obsession. There's so many nuances. It's just bad. Boil Over. Your struggling effects on the killer are increased by 75%, and you obscure the killer's ability to see hook auras. Trash. It's not useful. Your increased struggle effects and the killer not being able to see the hooks near them, it's usually pretty useless because any competent killer can spin around even when they're not near the hooks, and they can know where the hooks are when they see the Boil Over icon. And even if they walk past it, if they're spinning around looking for auras, the aura eventually will become, they'll see it. If they increase the range of it, it might be better, but for now it's trash. All right, so now we have Bond. Bond lets you see allies' auras within 36 meters. This is very useful. This helps you in chase. This helps you out of chase. It helps you see people on gens. It helps you see people who need to be healed. It helps you lead people or lead the killer away from generators or away from people who are healing. It's an incredible perk. One of the best aura reading perks by far. A tier perk. Very good. Highly recommend. Borrowed Time. When you unhook somebody, they gain endurance for 12 seconds. Probably one of the best anti-tunnel perks out there. I'd say it's very, very good. We're going to put it in an A tier. If you don't want to be tunneled, this is the perk for you. Or this is the perk you want your teammates to run. Very useful. Wastes a lot of the killer's time. Even if they tunnel you, it still buys you time to get somewhere at least. A lot of people try to use this perk aggressively, which I guess can be useful when you're trying to take hits, especially during endgame. But if people use this perk and actually use it to get away from the killer instead of being offensive with it, it can definitely keep you from getting tunneled. So pretty decent perk. Next one we're going to talk about is... Oh, sorry, I had to mute because I had to yawn. Botany Knowledge. Healing speed and healing item efficiency is increased by 33%. Pretty simple perk. It's good. Heal faster. That's it. It's decent. Not the best, not the worst. Breakdown. When you are removed from a hook, the hooks break and the killer's aura is shown to you for 6 seconds. The hook respawn, or the respawn rate takes 180 seconds, which is 3 minutes. I'd say it's an okay perk, not the best. The aura reading is fine, but for the most part, not the best perk ever, but it has its uses for sure. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Breakout. When you are within 6 meters of a carried survivor, you gain the haste status effect, moving at 7% increased speed. The carried survivor's wiggle speed is increased by 20%. So basically, this is used to help people wiggle out. It's not the best perk, but it's pretty good. I would probably put it B tier. I think it has its uses, definitely. But while it has its uses, it's not necessarily the best perk on the planet. I'll say that much. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Buckle Up. The recovery progress of dying survivors can be determined by the intensity of their auras of up to 48 meters. When you heal a survivor from the dying state to injured, both the healed survivor and you see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. No. It's too situationally. If the killer never slugs, you don't get value. It's trash. Like, it needs to give, like, maybe if you pick somebody off the ground, you both get endurance or some shit, but it's just not good. Built to last. Once per trial, a depleted item will refill 50% of its charges after 10 seconds. I'd say that's all right. It's not incredible. It's not terrible. Can help with toolboxes and medkits to get more value. Overall, an okay perk. All right, next one is Calm Spirit. Calm Spirit. Animals seem to trust you, as they often stay calm in your presence. It reduces the chances of alerting woodland creatures by 100%. Calm Spirit allows you to overcome the urge to scream. So basically, you are immune to scream and you can't really be detected or set off crows. I'd say that this is an underrated perk. It's pretty good. I use crows as killer to track tremendously. It lets you be stealthy and avoid infectious fright. I'm going to put that in B tier. I think it's slightly underrated, but I don't think it's absolutely amazing either. Camaraderie. If you are stage 2 on your hook and another survivor is within 16 meters, the hook timer is paused for 34 seconds. This helps you when you're getting camped, and it allows teammates to get time to heal or organize a plan to unhook you. It's okay, but it's too situational to really get a lot of use out of it. So I'm going to put it at C tier. Counterforce. Counterforce is one of my new favorite perks. You cleanse totems 20% faster, and after you cleanse a totem, you see the aura of the furthest totem from you for 4 seconds. You also gain a 20% stackable speed bonus to cleansing totems for the remainder of the trial. And this is for every totem you cleanse. This is great for taking out totems. I'm going to put this at A tier. I think that taking out totems is very important. It helps you nullify Noed very easily. And just overall, it's a great perk. Dance with me. When leaving, or when you fast vault something or leave a locker in a sprint, you leave no scratch marks for 3 seconds and it has a cooldown. Pretty useless. It works very rarely. For the most part, your scratch marks don't stay hidden long enough for you to make any distance as long as the killer has eyes on you. So I'm just going to say that it's really, really, really not good. So we'll throw it in D tier. Pretty trash. Okay, Dark Sense. Unlocks the potential and aura reading every time a gen is completed. You see the killer's aura for 5 seconds. When the last generator is completed, you see the killer's aura for 10. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's the best perk ever. I wouldn't say it's the worst perk ever, so we're going to throw it in C tier. Being able to see the killer's aura at any point in the match is good, but the downside is that it's going to be random. If this goes off mid-chase, it's like a free wall hack, so it could help you. But it's not the best either. Next exhaustion perk we've run into is Dead Hard. Basically, when you hit the active ability button, you dash. During the dash, you avoid damage, and then you get exhausted. I would say that Dead Hard is one of the better exhaustion perks. I'll get to another one later that also is going to be up here. I don't know if it's necessarily the best, but Dead Hard is definitely one of the best perks in the game. Especially if you don't loop greedily. It allows you, when you've exhausted all of your resources, to hopefully be able to Dead Hard to a window or a pallet that you would not otherwise make. It also lets you correct mistakes if you happen to get mind gamed. It's overall a very strong perk, and it can actually shift the outcome of a game if the Dead Hard is at a crucial moment. So overall, very, very strong perk. First S tier perk. The next perk is Deception. So basically, when you go to fast vault into a locker, it triggers a loud noise notification, and you leave no scratch marks for 3 seconds. It's pretty cool. It's not the best, but it can definitely confuse killers. So I'll put it at C tier. It's one of those perks that has its uses, but a lot of the time it's also not the best. It is fun. I like to run it. Decisive Strike. So basically, when you become unhooked, you have a timer for 60 seconds. If the killer comes after you and picks you up in those 60 seconds, you stun them for 5 seconds after you hit a skill check. It also deactivates if you do anything to progress the game, like repairing a gen, healing yourself or others, cleansing a totem, sabotaging hooks, unhooking others, etc. It's pretty good. It's an anti-tunnel perk. If the killer is super adamant on tunneling, it helps you get out of that situation and waste the killer's time, so people have more time to do gens. We're going to put it in B tier. I don't think it's one of the best perks on the planet, but I definitely think it's a very good perk. I don't personally like to use it because I feel like I don't get tunneled as often just because I'm a very hard survivor to catch. So I tend to be left alone. But it's definitely a very, very good perk to avoid being tunneled, especially if you've had some bad games. Just slap that bad boy on and stun the killer. All right. Deja Vu. It lets you see the aura of 3 generators, which are in close proximity to one another for a minute when the trial starts. Each time a gen is completed, it also does the same thing. So it's okay. But I think there are better perks for this. So I'm going to put it in D tier. I really don't think it's that great. I don't think I really need to explain much else about it. It's an okay perk, but it's nowhere near like anywhere viable. You have better perks like Visionary, Rookie Spirit, other things you can use to track gens. Hell, even just bringing in a map is better. So, all right, we have Deliverance. When you unhook somebody, you now have a 100% chance of self-unhooking yourself. When you do this, you become broken for 60 seconds. I'd say that Deliverance is a pretty good perk. I'm going to put it in A tier. While it is hard to activate, sometimes if you get found at the beginning, it's still a very, very strong perk. Being able to unhook yourself saves a tremendous amount of time because your teammates don't have to come save you. And that time is invaluable against good killers. So we're going to put it at A tier. Next perk we're going to be talking about is Desperate Measures. Desperate Measures allows you to have a faster healing and unhook action by 14% for every injured, hooked, or dying survivor. It's basically reverse Thanatophobia. I'd say it's a very, very, very strong healing perk. I'm going to put it up. I'm very tempted to put it A tier, but it's very hard. Okay, I'm going to put it A tier. The only reason I'm putting it A tier is because of the unhooking. The unhooking, the fast speed, is incredible when you're trying to unhook somebody in the killer's face, especially when you pair it with like borrow time. That is the only reason I'm putting it above Botany Knowledge. The healing is invaluable. Saving time, any way you can save time is fantastic. Now we have Detective Saunch. It basically shows all generators' chest totems within 64 meters for 10 seconds every time a generator is completed. I'm going to put this in B tier. It's good if you're totem hunting, but I do think Counterforce is better. But it still allows you to find other generators and gives you information, and it allows you to, find totems nearby versus Counterforce is finding totems that are further. Next perk we're going to talk about is Distortion. You have 3 tokens. Every time your aura would be revealed, it consumes a token, and it doesn't show your aura. You don't leave scratch marks, and you leave no aura. So it's all right. Not super useful. I'm going to throw it in C tier. I think I would move it up if it had 5 tokens or there were a way to replenish tokens, but right now there's not a lot of, use for it, really. Except for Lethal Pursuer, I guess. That's new. So Diversion. You have to hide in the killer's terror radius and not be in a chase for 30 seconds. Once it's activated, you can crouch and throw a pebble, which creates a loud noise notification and also puts scratch marks 20 meters away. This is too much of time wasting. It's not a good perk. You have to not only hide in the killer's terror radius, but you also can't be chased. Honestly, if you focus and go out of your way to activate this perk, you're wasting too much time. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of the barrel. Empathy. Basically infinite aura reading on injured people. I'd say that's an A tier perk. People might not think so, but I think seeing where injured people are, where people are looping, is very valuable information. Especially if you're going for like flashlight saves or you just want to know in general where the person's being looped. It's just very strong. Fast track. Every time somebody gets hooked, you gain 3 tokens. You consume all tokens after a great skill check. Each token grants a 1% bonus for great skill checks when you repair a gen. So basically, let's say you have 18 tokens, you hit a great skill check, the gen goes up by like 20. What is the default for hitting a great skill check? 1%. So I think that would be like 18 plus the 1, so it would be 19%. It's like If you can save it up, it becomes a pop goes the weasel, except in reverse. Unfortunately, it also means that there's been a shit ton of people who have been hooked. So I'm gonna put it at C tier. It's hard to get noticeable value with it, and it's can be split among different gens. So I don't know if I can comfortably put it in B tier, so I'm not going to. It can have good value, but overall it is too meticulous, and you're better off running other perks. Fixated. You can see your own scratch marks, and you walk 20% faster. By itself, it's not really that good of a perk. It's fun, but it's not, it's not a great perk, I don't think, to be honest. Like, being able to see your scratch marks and being able to walk faster. Walking faster is cool and all, but it's very hard to get extreme value out of that. I just don't think it's as good as these other perks. Personal opinion. Feel free to disagree. Flashbang. After you repair 50% of a gen, you can enter a locker and generate a flashbang. I'd say flashbang is pretty useless. It's very difficult to get saves with flashbangs, and it's not that useful for a one-time blind either. So I'm just gonna throw it at D tier and just leave it there. I just don't think you get enough value from it. Flip-flop. While you're in the dying state, 50% of your recovery progression is converted to wiggle progression, up to a max of 50%. It's really too situational. Flip-flop's pretty trash, and let's be real, you don't get slugged enough to get use out of flip-flop, and then not only that, there ends up being a hook like right next to you anyways, so it's very, very difficult to get flip-flop value. So for the people, I think that for the people can be a very good perk. I keep clicking it on my DBD screen and forgetting that I can't do that. So what it does is it allows you to instantly pick somebody up who is slugged, or it also lets you instantly heal somebody no matter their healing progress who is injured. But then you become injured and you become broken for 60 seconds. You also become the obsession. It's pretty good. Not the best perk on the planet, but it definitely has its uses. Being able to pick somebody up like that is very, very, very good. While you can't use it every trial, it is it's very useful when the killer starts to slug. So that's why I think that it belongs in B tier. Head on. I think that head on is like one of the most useless exhaustion perks. When you're in a locker for 3 seconds, you can jump out, fast vault, and stun the killer. If you'd use this in a loop, you don't really gain much distance. Now, this is a lot stronger in a survive with friends. And for that, I'll put it in C tier, but alone, it's just not good. Not good at all. Like if I quick and quiet into a locker and then I head on the killer, I didn't really buy much time. I'm not going to gain much distance either. So I'm just going to keep it like at that. The next perk is Hope. As soon as the X gates are powered, you gain 7% haste for 2 minutes. Pretty good perk. When you get to the end game, makes you fast, very fast. Killers will really struggle to catch you, especially if they're 110. I'd say it's a very good perk. Inner Strength. What Inner Strength does is when you cleanse a totem, Inner Strength activates. When you hide in a locker for 8 seconds, you become healed. Obviously, you can't use this if you are broken. So I'd say this is an A tier perk. Incredibly, incredibly, incredibly good perk. Being able to cleanse a totem not only counters a lot of hexes and things in the game, but being able to heal yourself in 8 seconds without the help of a teammate is phenomenal. All right, next perk we're going to talk about is Iron Will. Basically, grunts of pain caused by the killer are reduced by 100%. You make no noise. Arguably one of the best passive perks in the game. So we're going to put it S tier. Sound is extremely, as somebody who plays killer a shit ton, sound is extremely crucial when you are playing Dead by Daylight. So it definitely belongs S tier. You may not be able to notice the immediate effects, but trust me, this perk is extremely strong. Now that it's multiplicative instead of additive, it also negates Strider. So, I mean, it's pretty good. I don't think there's much else to add. Just being completely silent is a game changer for a lot of people. All right, next perk, Kindred. Basically, when you're hooked All survivors' auras are revealed to all other survivors. If the killer is within 16 meters, their aura is revealed as well. While a survivor other than you is hooked, you get the same effect. So, Kindred, I'm going to say is an A tier perk. It's great in solo queue. Overall, just has a tremendous aura value. It lets your teammates kind of coordinate without actually having to communicate with each other. And just being able to see auras in general like that is extremely powerful. All right, leader. When you are, well, basically you give it to your teammates who are around you. It increases their healing, sabotage, unhooking, cleansing, opening exit gates, chest unlock speeds by 25%. And then it also lasts when they leave the 8 meter range for 15 seconds. Not the best perk, not the worst perk. I'm going to throw it in C tier. I think it's a pretty fucking strong perk. And did I just say it's pretty strong? No, sorry. It's a pretty situationally strong perk, because being able to give your teammates 25% to a lot of actions can be a game changer, but it's very inconsistent to be near survivors in times where you need this effect to be, to be useful. All right, so the next perk we got to talk about is Left Behind. Pretty simple. If you're the last survivor, you see the aura of the hatch. It's like not that good. I mean, you don't want to get to this point in the game anyways. It has its uses, but for the most part, pretty useless. It's great if you have a key, but I mean, for the most part, it's just don't run it. You can run other things. It's just not that good. All right, lightweight. Scratch marks stay visible 3 seconds less than normal. I have really no way of like knowing how much value this gets, but I'm just gonna assume it's trash. Like, really, if a killer's tracking you, I don't think the 3 seconds matters much if they're good at tracking. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just genuinely don't think that it has that much value. So we're gonna put it in trash tier. Lithe. Another exhaustion perk. When you rush, you break into a sprint at 150% normal speed. And then become exhausted, obviously. I think that Lithe is actually a pretty good exhaustion perk. Definitely stronger than Head On. I'm going to say it's B tier. Being able to vault, especially if you fast vault, not only makes you gain a shit ton of distance, but the killer is going to be on the other side of the vault, presumably. So they have to not only catch up, but they have to go all the way around whatever you just vaulted. So I think that it's an underrated exhaustion perk that I don't see very much, and I do think it's good. Lucky Break. Basically, when you become injured, Lucky Break activates. You don't leave trails of blood or scratch marks for 60 seconds. It permanently deactivates when the timer is over. C tier. It's useful, but only if you really run Iron Will, and the timer is too short for it to be good. Leave it at that. Metal Man. Basically, if you take 3 protection hits, you, on the 4th one, when you would be put into the dying state from the injured state, you ignore it, and then you just pretty much ignore it. You just it's like getting hit with borrowed time, except you don't get deep wound. And then the next time you heal back to full health, your aura is revealed to the killer when you are further than 16 meters. This perk is a mouthful. Too many nuances. It's not good. Just don't put it on. It's memey, but it's definitely not good. No Mither. You are broken. You leave no pools of blood. Grunts of pain are reduced, and you can recover infinitely. Trash. Being injured at the start of the game is not good. It like 50% grunts of pain. Put on Iron Will. No blood. Like, who cares? You're making noise anyways. So, pretty trash. No One Left Behind. Not really a great perk. It can be useful in the end game, but it's so situational. But I do think that it has its uses. But I'm still going to throw it down at D tier. It's just not that useful. Object of Obsession. Whenever your aura is revealed to the killer's aura becomes visible to you, and you gain 6% bonus to healing, repairing, cleansing, etc. And if you are the obsession, your aura is revealed to the killer for 3 seconds, once every 30 seconds, and it increases your chance of being the obsession. This perk is okay. It can give you a speed boost randomly. It can tell you if the killer has aura reading perks like Nurses or Barbecue or Lethal Pursuer. I would say that the aura reading and the increased action speed is good. So I'm going to place it in B tier. I think that it's useful while not being incredibly strong. And it's just overall a decent perk. Off the record, once you are unhooked or escape the hook, off the record activates, you have no grunts of pain. Your aura is hidden. It's really not the best. I mean, you could literally just run Iron Will. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that it has no use, but I'm going to put it in D tier. I don't think it's a useful perk. Open-handed, I'd say that increasing your team's aura reading by 16 meters is pretty good. It helps with bond. It helps with fucking empathy. It helps with every single aura perk that has a range. I'm going to say that open-handed is a E tier perk because it can apply to your entire team. And I think that's pretty invaluable. So while being pretty decent, it's not meta or anything. So, okay perk. Pharmacy, I'm going to put in C tier. What Pharmacy does is you unlock chests 80% faster. The noises caused along with their hearing distance is reduced by 8 meters, and it guarantees that the first chest you get is an emergency medkit. Green medkits are really good, so that's why I'm going to put it in C tier. Pretty good perk. Plunder's Instinct, you see all chests within 32 meters, and it grants a considerable chance at finding an item of higher rarity in chests. I'm going to put this in C tier too. It's a pretty good perk. You can find keys and stuff. While it's not consistent enough to put it higher on the list, if you pair it with other looting perks like Appraisal, the chance that you find a key becomes tremendously higher. So it has synergy with a lot of perks, but by itself, I would just say it's all right comparatively to other perks. Poist. After a gen is completed, you leave no scratch marks for 10 seconds. I'd say that Poist is pretty trash. It's too random to give you a great bonus, and you can't, like I said, it's random. You don't have a choice on when it activates. God, that fucking scared me. Somebody followed me when I was offline. But yeah, too random for a good use. Power Struggle. Basically, so this is when you reach 25% wiggle progress, and if the killer walks near a pallet, you can throw it and basically free yourself. I'm going to put this as a D tier perk. This only really works if you're running like Unbreakable, Tenacity, Flip-Flop, and you have to dedicate an entire build to it. On its own, it's just not great. So I'm going to throw it in D tier and leave it at that. Premonition. It gives you an auditory warning when you look at the killer's direction. In a 45-degree cone, it has a 36-meter range and a cooldown of 30 seconds. No. Run Spine Chill instead. Prove Thyself. For every survivor working on a generator within a 4-meter range, you gain a 15% repair bonus speed. You also get bonus blood points if you work on or for cooperative actions. And this is a great perk. It's a very, very, very good perk for doing gens incredibly fast. I'm going to say that it is an S tier perk. The gen speed from Prove Thyself is absurd. Now, obviously, it's better to do gens split apart. But if you need to really crank out a gen that's being pressured by a killer or break a 3-gen, Prove Thyself is the go-to. Quick and Quiet. It makes your fast vaults quiet. This effect can only trigger every 20 seconds. Very good perk. I'm going to put it in A tier. Being able to make no sound when you vault is pretty underrated. It can confuse the killer, and it can let you get away. Definitely pretty good perk. Red Herring. When you repair a gen for at least 3 seconds, it becomes highlighted in yellow. It stays highlighted until it's fully repaired, or you touch a new gen, or enter a locker. When you enter a locker, it basically creates an explosion at the gen. So it's like Rock, Pebble, except you can do it to gens by entering lockers. I'm going to say it's C tier. It's okay, but it's also not the best. Being able to confuse a killer randomly is nice, but you have to waste a lot of time setting it up. So that's why I'm not going to put it at D, because you still can confuse the killer and waste their time, but It's just too nuancy to put it any higher than that. Let's go ahead and talk about the next one. Repress Alliance. You get to block a gen with your active ability button for 30 seconds, as long as you've worked on a gen for a minute. This is a pretty good counter to Pop Goes the Weasel. I'm going to put it as an A tier perk. If the killer wants to wait 30 seconds to kick at the gen, that's on them, dude. But being able to prevent a gen from being regressed. You can also stop ruin regression, because whenever a gen is blocked by entity tendrils, regression doesn't happen anymore. So overall, very, very, very good perk. Resilience. When you are injured, you get 9% additional speed when repairing, sabotaging, healing, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, opening X gates, and unlocking while injured. Just a net bonus to pretty much everything. I'm going to say it's a B tier perk. Pretty strong, no complaints. Resurgence. You pretty much become 50% healed when you get unhooked. Pretty simple. It's like reverse will make it. So I'm going to say that Resurgence is a very good time saver perk. I'm going to throw it in A tier. All right, I had to scroll down a little bit because I'm running out of room on the web page for this. Maybe I'll zoom out. Will that work? That's probably better. Let's do that. Okay. There we go. Sorry, there's literally just so many survivor perks, bro. All right. What perk are we on anyways? Let's see. What is this? Is that Rookie Spirit? Yeah. Okay, so Rookie Spirit. When you complete 3 good or great skill checks or repairing a gen, Rookie Spirit activates for the rest of the trial. You see the aura of regressing generators. I think that that's pretty good. It helps know what gens you need to touch and stop regressing. It's good for ruin. It's good for if a gen gets popped and he chases the survivor off of it, you can go on it to stop it and hopefully pop it before the killer comes back. While it's not the best perk on the planet, it's still a very good generator perk. Next perk on the list is a Saboteur. You see hooks auras in a 56-meter radius from the pickup spot if a survivor is being carried. You can Sabo hooks without a toolbox. This takes 2.5 seconds, and it has a 60-second cooldown. It's pretty trash. The cooldown sucks because if you stop touching the hook and don't complete the action, it still goes on cooldown, which is ridiculous. Definitely not that great of a survivor perk. Second Wind. When you perform enough healing that equals 100% of a heal on a survivor, you activate Second Wind. The next time you become unhooked, you become broken and you are healed over a duration of 20 seconds. This saves a shit ton of time. It's a great perk. I'm going to say that it is an A tier perk. It is pretty much on the same level of Resurgence. It just saves a shit ton of time. Self-care. This unlocks the ability to heal yourself at 50% normal healing speed, and it increases the efficiency of self-healing items by 20%. I'd say Wait, did I skip a perk? I'll get back to that. No, these are just out of order. Okay, so Self-Care, I'm going to say is a B tier perk. I think it's really good, but it also can be really bad if you're healing against Sloppy Butcher because it takes 40 seconds, and that is half of a generator that you spent self-caring. But if you need to heal yourself, and your teammates aren't there to heal you, it could be a very good perk. So that's why it's B tier. A lot of people use this perk. I think it's one of the most used perks by survivors in Dead by Daylight. But I do think that there are better perks than you can run, but it is still a strong perk on its own. All right, so the next perk is Self-Preservation. Whenever another survivor within 16 meters of you gets hit by a basic attack or a special attack, Self-Preservation activates, and your scratch marks and pools of blood and grunts of pain are hidden. So you basically become a ghost. This is pretty good for going for flashlight saves. Not the best perk on the planet, not the worst perk on the planet. Too situationally useful, and really it's only useful if you're going for like pallet saves or flashlight saves. So it's a risk on its own to be going for those, but it's still not a bad perk. All right, Slippery Meat. It grants up to 3 extra escape attempts on the hook, and hook escape attempts have a 4% increased chance to succeed. Not a good perk. You really don't want to try to unhook yourself because if you end up going second stage, you're going to be feeling really fucking stupid. Just don't put this perk on. Small Game. When you look within a 45-degree cone within 12 meters of a totem, Small Game activates. Another follow, sorry. It has a cooldown of 10 seconds each time it activates. For each Dull Totem and Hex Totem that is cleansed by any player, you gain a token. Small Game's detection cone is reduced by 5 degrees per token, so it becomes easier to narrow down which direction the totem specifically is. It's a good totem cleansing perk. I'm going to put it C tier though, because you have much better perks when it comes to cleansing totems. So while it's decent, there are other perks that you can run for a much better advantage. Smash hits. Smash hit, basically, after you stun the killer with the pallet, you break it to a sprint at 150% your normal running speed for 4 seconds, and then you get exhausted. I think this is a very good exhaustion perk, considering it lasts 4 seconds instead of 3. However, a lot of killers respect pallets, so it's fucking hard to get it to activate. If you do, you can gain so much distance that the killer's probably gonna fucking lose you and have to go after somebody else. But for the most part, it has its uses, but it's too nuancy, and if you miss the pallet stun, then you don't get value. Soul Survivor, for every token you have, your aura cannot be read by the killer within a max range of 24 meters for each killed or sacrificed survivors. When has this perk ever been useful? I'm sorry, it's just not that good. I don't even know if I've ever run this perk, but it was only useful with old object and it needs a rework. Solidarity. So when you're injured and you heal somebody without using a medkit, it also heals you at a 50% conversion rate. I guess that's okay. As far as I'm aware, I don't think it's exactly 50% because I had Resurgence and then I healed somebody with Solidarity and it didn't full heal me, which means the conversion isn't exactly 50%. So it's kind of whack. It's an okay perk, but you're better off running something else. Solidarity can have value, but it requires you to find somebody who's injured and you also be injured. So getting value can be quite difficult. Soul Guard. Gain the endurance status effect for 8 seconds after you are recovered from the dying state. While you are cursed by a hex, you can fully recover from the dying state. This effect has a 30-second cooldown. I would say this perk is C tier. It's good, especially with Unbreakable, but I wouldn't say that it's an amazing perk. If you pair it with Unbreakable and you get a hex, you can pretty much recover infinitely, which makes it strong. But on its own, it's not that fantastic of a perk. But it has its situational usefulness, and for that, it goes in the C tier with all the other situationally useful perks. Next perk on the list is Spine Chill. You get a notification if the killer is looking within 36 meters, it lights up. While it's lit up, your skill check trigger odds are increased by 10%, with 10% reduced success zones. It also increases your speed while repairing, sabotaging, healing, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, opening exits, and unlocking by 6% while it's active. This perk does a shit ton. This perk does more than like any other perk in the game does almost. Spine Chill, I'd say, is an A tier perk. It lets you know when the killer is coming before their terror radius even hits you. It's a fantastic perk. Definitely one of the best perks that aren't teachable in the entire game. Sprint Burst. When you start to run, you break it to a sprint burst at 150% of your normal running speed for 3 seconds. Causes exhausted. So Sprint Burst is probably up there and is probably one of the best exhaustion perks in the game next to Dead Hard. People have arguments on whether Dead Hard or Sprint Burst is better. I think they both have equal merit and both are very, very strong. Sprint Burst, when managed well, lets you get out of dead zones and get 2 tiles that you otherwise would not get to. So it's just an incredibly strong perk because it makes pretty much zones that are regularly unsafe into zones that are safe. Next perk on the list is Stakeout. So when you are in the killer's terror radius for at least 15 seconds, you get a token up to 4 tokens. When Stakeout has at least 1 token, good skill checks are considered great, and it consumes a token and it grants a 1% additional bonus to repair speed. I would say that it's okay. It takes a lot to activate, but the increased progress and great skill check towards a generator being completed could mean life or death. So that's why I'm not going to be completely, I'm not going to completely chuck it in the toilet. But, it's situationally okay, I guess, And I know I keep repeating myself, but truly, like, trying to get full stacks of Stakeout can be difficult, but when you do, this perk can be useful. Streetwise reduces the consumption rate of items by 25% for you and your allies within 8 meters. Once you are out of range, this effect persists for 5 seconds. I'm going to put Streetwise in probably C or D tier. I don't know which one. I'm gonna put it in C tier because when you use it with toolboxes or a med kit, the value can become pretty insane, and it can also help your teammates if they're using toolboxes as well. So it's not complete trash. I'll say that much. It can just be helpful in preserving items and making stronger items last longer, especially if you're going for pallet blinds and you just want to burn your battery, or you don't have like extension battery add-ons, all that shit. Technician, so when you're on a gen, the noise is caused by your repairs and their hearing distance are reduced by 8 meters. When you fail a skill check, the following effects happen. The generator explosion is prevented, the generator loses progress as usual, and an additional 3% is lost. So that's a D tier. Not a good perk. Don't miss skill checks on gens. Tenacity. Your ferocious tenacity in dire situations allows you to crawl 50% faster and recover at the same time. This is very good for slugging. And it helps in a lot of situations, and the killer will lose you. I believe tenacity is a very underrated perk. And overall, it's pretty good. So this is not happening when you're injured. Great skill check zones when repairing and healing. Get 30% bigger when you are injured. I'd say that this is decent. It's not the best, but it's not... Ah, shit. We're running out of room again. Zoom out again, boys. All right. People underestimate how much generators progress when you're consistently hitting great skill checks. So if you're injured and this is not happening, is procced, making great skill checks a lot easier, you get a lot of value. And I think that this is overlooked. So that's why I'm putting it in C tier. The next perk we're going to talk about is Unbreakable. You recover from the dying state 35% faster, and you can pick yourself up once per trial on your own. This perk is a very, very good perk. Very good perk for anti-slugging. That is why I'm going to throw it in A tier. Being able to recover on your own in dire situations is extremely good, and it can save your team's ass. And just being able to recover faster in general on its own is very, very powerful. Up the ante, you get a 3% bonus of luck for every survivor alive besides you. Luck is fucking useless in this game. This perk's trash. Luck literally does nothing except for self on hooks, I think. It doesn't even affect chests. Like, why the fuck is this perk even a thing? So next thing we have is Urban Evasion. You crouch 100% faster. I would say that could be very good, especially if you're going against a killer that has to hit over objects like Huntress, Deathslinger, Nemesis, and just hiding in general. Being able to crouch faster is a good thing to have when you're trying to be immersed. Vigil. You and your allies within 8 meters recover faster from exhausted, hemorrhage, hindered, blindness, affects 20% faster, and it persists for 15 seconds after they leave. I would say that this perk is C tier. People don't realize this, but it actually helps against Clown and Freddy because they have hindered status effects. So Vigil actually gives you a subtle bonus that not a lot of people realize when you're against the Clown or Freddy or any other killer that hinders you. So that's pretty cool. And also recovering from exhaustion faster, or letting your teammates recover from exhaustion faster, especially if you pair it with Sprint Burst, is pretty good. All right. Whew, I've been talking a lot. Last page, guys. We're almost there. Visionary. You see generators' auras within 32 meters. Anytime a generator is completed, Visionary is disabled for 16 seconds. Seeing generators is very good, especially in indoor maps. So I'm going to throw this in B tier. I think being able to see 3 gens mid-match, being able to locate generators that you otherwise wouldn't find on indoor maps, it's pretty useful. Now, while it's nuancy to say that it's better on indoor maps, it's still good in recognizing 3 gens throughout the map, and it's probably one of the better generator or reading perks. Still not the best, but I think it deserves B tier. Wake Up. Exit gates are revealed to you within 128 meters. And while you're on an exit gate, you reveal the exit gate to survivors within 128 meters. You also open exit gates 15% faster. The fact that it only has one use the entire trial, and that's just to open the X gate, only 15% faster, it's okay, but it needs a stronger effect for me to put it any higher than C tier. We'll make it. When you rescue a survivor from a hook, you gain a 100% speed increase when healing others for 19 seconds. We'll make it as an A tier perk. Being able to heal people 100% faster is absurd. It's a great counter to sloppy, and it just lets you save so much time and decreases a heal from 16 to 8 seconds. Overall, throughout the match, it can just save you a shit ton of time. Any perk that lets you heal faster and saves time on healing, that's time gained on generators. That's time that you can just progress the game much faster. So we're going to live forever. You heal people in the dying state 100% faster. Then you gain a token when you perform a safe unhook, take a hit to to protect a survivor, rescue a survivor by stunning the killer, or rescue a survivor by blinding the killer with a flashlight. You gain a 25% stackable bonus per token to all blood points, up to 100%. And then you get this post-trial. I'd say that's a B tier perk. The being able to pick up survivors from the dying state 100% faster is very, very, very strong. And for a lot of people, blood points are hard to come by. So this perk is just godsend. I wish it was better. I wish you got it for picking people up. Like you got tokens for picking people up. But, you know, at least there's something to increase. Okay, windows of opportunity. I think that windows of opportunity is an S tier perk. People might not agree with me, but I think being able to see where windows and vaults are, considering the RNG that is Dead by Daylight, allows you to link tiles more effectively, be more conservative of resources, and overall loop far more optimally than if you did not have windows of opportunity. People say that windows of opportunity is a training wheels perk. I highly disagree, because if you have the knowledge of how to chain tiles, windows of opportunity makes a good looper a god looper. Especially if you're able to see things that you otherwise would not be able to recognize, and it helps your pathing when you're being chased. All right, guys. We've talked about, how long has it been? Okay, so we've only been talking for 57 minutes. I thought it would be a little longer. But yeah. That's pretty much my just knee jerk on all of these perks. My first initial impression. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to voice your opinion on some perks that you value more than others. Like if you fucking love Wake Up, tell me in the comments that you fucking love Wake Up and that you're addicted to it. You know, share your opinion. Don't be rude to other people in the comments. As always, civil discussions are loved, always welcomed. And I will see you guys in the fog. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, evening, morning, whatever time it is, whenever you guys are watching this video. And yes, I will do this with killer perks. And yeah, see you guys in the next video.